Okay, so the first step of the Fender Bender project is to swap out this blue body of the guitar with some other texture of your choice. So to customize it, I went to Bing and I searched for wood grain background because I want to make my guitar look like it's made out of wood instead of that baby blue color. So I'm going to scroll down, and as always, I have my filter set to large or extra large. You could do as well, but just so it's not all small images coming back. I like this one, so I'm going to click on that. It's going to pop that open for me. I'm going to right click, copy image, go back to Photoshop, paste it. All right, it's pretty big, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit with Command minus or Control minus if you're a PC user, then Command T, Control T, which gives you the transform box. And I'm just going to scale it down so it covers most of the body of the guitar, but doesn't go, I want it to make sure it's the size of the body, if not a little bigger. Zoom in a little bit, and then return to render it. Okay, so here's the trick. Here's how you make this wood fill that body of that guitar. I've already actually done part of the work for you, because what you would do right now for the next step is you would have to select, you'd have to go to this baby blue strat layer and use your magic wand or some other selection tool to get all the blue selected. Okay, now I already did part of the work for you, so I'm going to show you what I did. Before I save this template up for you, I got this whole thing selected and then saved the selection. It's almost like embedding a selection in a file. Here's how you access it. Okay, I'm going to go to the wood layer and select, load selection, and then in the little channel drop down menu, I'm going to click on the little arrow and access Stratocaster body. Okay, so when I hit OK, you'll see those lines light up, right? So that's the exact outline of that body of the guitar. Now this is really helpful. It's kind of a little secret thing in Photoshop, but it's really helpful if you're working really hard on selecting something. I always think of like someone's hair. Say you wanted to make someone's hair bright pink, but you had to select all the strands of the hair first. And the class or the block was about to end, and you didn't want to lose all the work you did to get it selected. You could actually save that selection, and then next time when you open the file, you could access it and get the selection back the way it was right before the class ended. And then you can kind of add to the selection if you need to. It's kind of a cool little thing. So now that my selection is lit up, I'm going to make a mask based on it. So layer, layer mask. Now up until now, we've mainly done the brush on technique. We've done like hide all or reveal all and use the brush to kind of manually hide or reveal things. And then we've also used the gradient tool like we did back in the day with the Star Wars thing. But here we're going to say reveal selection. So if you have an active selection going on with these lines dancing and you say reveal selection, it's going to reveal what was inside that selection. So this is just like the windshield trick that I showed you for the Photoshop Chop Shop project. Okay, so now I have the wood. And it's looking good. It's looking a little flat. So meaning like there's no real shadows or highlights to the body of the guitar. So I'm going to change that. Go to layer, layer style, same place we visited for the type in the stereotype project. I'm going to pick bevel and emboss, which gives it sort of a 3D feel. I'm going to change the technique to chisel hard. I'm going to drag that slider down a little bit so it's a little more realistic looking. You can change where the light's coming from. Probably, I would say the bottom. You probably don't want the light coming from the bottom, but from the top somewhere is good, right? And you can make it, deeper or more shallow, I guess. It's looking pretty good. You can also change, you can play with like the how bright the highlight is, how bright the shadow is down here. You can even go in and try to change what the texture looks like. But I'm just going to say OK. All right, so now I have kind of a 3D look to the body of the guitar. I'm going to show you how to colorize parts of the guitar and also to add some knobs to replace the knobs down here. So first things first, to colorize the neck of the guitar and maybe leave everything else alone, or I could also choose to just have this, what's called the pick guard, this whole area be a color and have nothing else affected. I'll show you how we do this. This is similar to something I showed you with the car project. So I'm going to say image. Actually, I'm going to duplicate that layer first. So let's right click on that, duplicate layer. You can also, by the way, if you hold down Option on the Mac keyboard, or I believe it's Alt on the PC keyboard, you can click and hold, and your hand turns into two little arrows. See the black and white arrow? And when you let go, it makes a duplicate. So you can do that too. Either right click duplicate or do that whole Option click and drag. I'm going to make this a color, so I'm going to say image adjustments, hue saturation, colorize. Right, I'm going to find like a nice kind of orangish color to go with the wood. All right, say OK. Now I'm going to use that mask technique again. I love the mask. Layer mask, hide all. B for brush. Make sure white is your color. Make sure your opacity is 100. You know, as far as size, you can kind of make it whatever you want. Hardness is probably pretty good at 100 right now. A little bigger, right? So you can essentially paint on the parts that you want. You know, you could even go as detailed as, you know, painting on only the parts that are in between these frets. So if you're not a guitar player, just these little kind of lines are called frets. So you can, you know, get that detail if you want. You could also decide, you know what, no, I'm going to hit X and scrub back over that. You know, you can cover that stuff up, and you could basically just colorize X again back to white, just to this area, you know. So it's totally up to you what you want to do. I think I'm going to keep the neck orange, and do that really quickly. A little sloppy here, but that's for the purposes of this demo. I think you guys know you would work a little harder on getting stuff a little more detailed. Okay, and then the next part of this is just showing you how you could bring in another object as a knob. So to replace these knobs, you know, these you can easily just erase. As long as you're on the original guitar layer, you can easily erase those and replace them with whatever you want, right? But down here, these knobs, it's as easy as going to the web, finding something. In this case, I'm going to do an acorn cap. So I'm going to click on that. Not right click, just regular click. Copy it. Bring it back into Photoshop, paste it. It's huge, which again is not a bad problem to have. Right? Again, you can, I'm just going to select this really roughly. Just for demonstration purposes here. And then once I have what I want selected, I can hit Command C, Command V, and you'll notice that I just copied and pasted what was in the selection. So now I have it on its own layer, and the original layer that has the acorn with the other ones in the background, I could just delete that. Okay. So now with that acorn, I can move it over, scale it down, okay. Put it on top of the other knob, zoom in a little bit. You can, you know, tweak the colors a little bit. So I can do image adjustments, hue saturation. Maybe I want it a little darker, maybe a little more saturated, right? You can even add a little layer style to it to give it a shadow. So layer style, drop shadow. Right? You can change the distance so it's kind of casting a shadow below it. Maybe it's a little blurrier, maybe not too blurry, right? Just little details that you can do to make it look like it's a little more in that space.